ask 400 classic WoW players why they don't like retail. Oh, we gotta watch this one.
Okay, so I put my internet journalist pants on again and dove deep into the world of Reddit and Blizzard forums to find out why classic players don't like retail WoW. As a person who enjoys both classic and retail, I was curious to find out why so many people...
I only like classic. I literally do. Just feels and looks wise, retail WoW looks like a cheap copy. Like a cheap copy of classic WoW. Am I the only one feeling like that? Whenever I look at retail, I feel like looking at one of those wannabe WoW killers from back in the day that literally tried to just copy WoW. To me, that's literally how retail looks like. And it's bad. It's really bad. I don't want that at all.
prefer to stick to the classic version of the game. I scrolled through many older posts around the subject and made posts of my own, and this is what I asked. I managed to get over...
Classic players, why don't you play retail? Yeah, good question. What things do you find unappealing in the retail version of the game? The graphics? The story? The talent trees? What things do you think are better in classic? What I just said? Oh, and the gameplay. What do you like about retail, if anything? Housing. What would need to change for you to consider playing retail? The gameplay, the story, Blizzard.
400 answers, and this video is entirely based on the data gathered from those answers and some other older forum posts. Now, the last time I did a video like this about why PvE...
Good basis for a video.
Don't like PvP, I tried to find solutions to all the problems people brought up, but in this video we're not gonna do that because, well, you'll find out when we get to the last question I asked in my forum posts. So, this video is...
Because there will be so many different answers to that. Or the answers would be so much changing retail to make it appealing to a classic player that it would completely destroy the game.
It's going to be more of an essay type video where we find out the most popular reasons why some people prefer classic over retail. I'm also going to try to explain all of the topics of this video the best I can and also share some of my personal thoughts on these matters. And with that, let's move on to the video.
Most brought up topics.
Okay, let's start with the most brought up topics that classic players find unappealing in retail WoW. After reading all the answers and posts, I started with listing the most often highlighted issues and divided them into 5 main topics that we will cover in this video.
Nice, good.
These are MMO feeling, power progression, focus on endgame, complexity, and WarCraft feeling.
Oh yeah, I get all of them. Literally all of them. And I agree with all of them.
So, MMO feeling. When you think of an MMO or massively multiplayer online game, what are the first things that come to your mind? For me, it's a large world, lots of players, and most importantly, interaction between those players.
Yes, and I don't remember when was the last time I actually interacted with people playing World of Warcraft. Like actually playing the game. That just doesn't happen. Didn't happen to me for a decade. Literally. I do group content, I do raids, but just interacting with people, doesn't happen because the groups and raids is just group and raid finder. In Arc Raiders, I have interactions with other people all the time. Every raid, or at least almost every raid, there's interaction of some kind with another player. So actually Arc Raiders has more MMO feeling than retail WoW. Which, to be fair, is not hard because it doesn't have it at all.
Now, WoW is an MMORPG, but a lot of people said that they feel like retail has lost the MMO feeling.
Of
and
course it
that
did.
retail is moving further and further away from the MMO part and leaning more towards an RPG. Many people said that retail doesn't feel like an MMO because of two main reasons: social interactions and the open world.
Open world is boring and almost not non-existent. And social interactions don't exist unless you are in a guild. That's it.
Let's start with social interactions. Retail WoW is definitely a more antisocial game than Classic. And this is mostly because of the fact that over the years, Blizzard has tried to make accessing endgame content more convenient through LFG, and
Yes,
now most
exactly.
of the endgame
That's the
is
problem.
interacted with through queuing for it in the LFG tool instead of interaction between players. This has made it way easier and less cumbersome to do endgame content, but it has also removed a lot of social interaction between players.
Exactly.
The LFG tool has also reduced the need to keep up social connections with good players you enjoyed playing with, because it's so easy to find people for your groups through the LFG tool. Also, the whole fast-paced and skill-based endgame formula of retail often leaves little room and time for socializing with other players, and people are more focused on clearing the content as efficiently and as fast as possible. Many Classic players find this more...
Yes, but one of the reasons they do that also is because the content is not actually that great. Every dungeon, every raid, they are all the same. They're all the same. A little bit of trash boss, a little bit of trash boss, a little bit of trash boss. And you have 4 or 5 bosses and then you're done. That's literally every dungeon and raid. Back in the day, you had to actually work your way through a dungeon to a boss. And yes, I know. Oh, that it's the same. Yes, it's the same. But it was also different from a design perspective. Dungeons kind of were mazes. Now they aren't. You go from A to B, and that's it. In old dungeons, you could get sidetracked, and there were bosses that you didn't have to do, but you could. You know, it was more adventurous.
More antisocial environment unappealing, and for that reason prefer Classic and the social interactions that come with it. Okay, let's move on to the open world part of the MMO feeling. Retail WoW has had 9 expansions added to the game over the last 20 years, and with each of those expansions have come more zones and areas for players to explore. The downside to this, however, is the fact that while the open world has grown larger and larger, the player base of retail WoW has only grown smaller. The outcome of this is that there are far less players out there in the different zones of the open world, especially the older zones that don't have anything to do with the current endgame content feel empty and dead because there is really no incentive for players to go into those zones.
Exactly. And that's the thing that I criticized back in the vanilla days. Every expansion, new zones, every expansion, new max level. It's there's actually not a real reason to play an expansion unless you want it to be current content for you. But if you don't care about that, then there's no reason to go back to them when you could just one man everything in an expansion if you just come in free 2 expansions down. It's yeah, that's just how it is. And that's something yeah. Yeah. You can like it or not, but yeah, it's kind of whatever. It's not really great. I always thought that the design of increasing the maximum level was never a good idea. That never was a good idea. They should have done something else instead. But yeah. And that's also why we have stat and level squishes.
This results in many people feeling like they're playing a solo game, since outside of the current expansion zones, you rarely come across other players.
And even in the current expansion zones, you don't interact with people. You don't. I never do. Why would I? There's zero reason to do that. Zero. And that's bad.
Having an empty open world kills the MMO feeling of the game for many people and makes the game feel more like an RPG than an MMORPG.
Yeah.
Many Classic players say that the open world in Classic feels much more alive, and for that reason they enjoy it a lot more. Now that we're done talking about the MMO feeling, let's talk about power progression. I would argue that most MMORPG players enjoy the feeling of seeing the time and effort put into the game bear fruit in the form of their characters growing stronger and more powerful.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. Not only in WoW, in Path of Exile 1 and 2, you know, generally the RPGs with generally in RPGs, but also in Arc Raiders. You do get a somewhat stronger the longer you play, but you only get so much stronger until you hit a peak point, and then you are just doing whatever you want, basically.
This is, in fact, a very important part of the game for many players of WoW and other MMORPGs as well. And in Classic WoW, in my opinion, the player power progression is done very well, and more time put into playing almost always results in a more powerful character. Whereas in Retail WoW, the power progression system is very convoluted and distorted because of the different systems implemented throughout the years.
Yes.
Okay, let me try to...
Also, your power level resets every big patch. So every, I don't know, 6 months? Or how the patch cycle is. And yeah, that's shit.
Explain this a little bit. First of all, in Classic WoW, the player character's power progression is very linear from the very first level all the way up to the final endgame content. As you gain levels and gear, you feel their effect and get a satisfying loop of feeling your character's power grow and allowing you to take on more challenging content, which then again results in better gear and more levels. In Retail WoW, however, more often than not, the level scaling of enemies and stats make it so that as you gain more levels...
I forgot all about level scaling. Well, and stat scaling. Oh my god, yes, that's retarded. I never liked that. It's so bad. I literally think this is bad design.
You actually become less powerful as enemy scaling systems start to take effect. This feeling of your character getting worse while progressing through the game seems to be a big turnoff for many players. Another thing that many Classic players don't like about Retail's power progression is the fact that it is, in their words, an infinite treadmill.
Yes.
What people are referring to here is the fact that Retail WoW's seasonal progression system results in all power level progress becoming obsolete in the next season.
Yeah.
This happens because of the huge gear item level differences between seasons, and also the various catch-up mechanics that help people reach better gear at the start of the season. This means that the gear that is hard to obtain in this current season will be very easy to obtain in the next one.
Yeah.
Making the effort put into gearing in the current season not feel so impactful.
Well, yeah. You basically, I mean, what do you do it for? Basically just for the prestige, right? Which is then completely gone after, I don't know, 6 months. Which is fucking boring.
In the long term. Lots of people that answered my questions disliked the fact that your power level in Retail WoW only stays relevant for the couple of months the season lasts, and then you have to start your progress all over again. Next, I will...
Which is true for literally every expansion. But that kind of makes sense, because it's an expansion. If that goes on for 3-4 years, and you'll get stronger through these 3-4 years, that feels good. Unless it resets every couple of months, then it feels bad.
Try to make it more simple to understand the differences in power progression between Retail and Classic WoW through some graphs, since it's a lot harder to try and explain in words. Okay, let's start with Classic WoW. Like I said before, Classic WoW's power progression is very linear. You start at level 1, and each level and each gear upgrade will make you stronger and make it easier for you to overcome challenges. This is not affected by any scaling systems, so for example, a level 55 elite will be hard to kill at level 55. But once you get to level 60 and you obtain some gear, the elite will be much easier to kill. Whereas in Retail, the scaling of enemies and seasonal resets make the power progression look more like a sine wave in a graph. Let's say an
Yes, pretty much that's how it is, yes. Oh my god, I'm depressed. Playing WoW. Yeah. Man, I hate playing Retail WoW.
Expansion starts at the very first peak of the wave and you have obtained good gear in the last expansion. As you start leveling and gaining more levels, the scaling systems start to take effect, and unless you constantly get good gear upgrades, the enemies will
which you don't
start to feel stronger and your character will start to feel weaker. This is usually at its worst around the time you reach the new maximum level. Only after you reach the new maximum level and start obtaining better gear will the power level scale start leaning in your favor. This same power level sine wave will also continue through the many seasons in the new expansion, as the seasonal endgame content is scaled for the new seasonal item levels. So, in a nutshell, many players prefer Classic because of the linear power progression where every upgrade to your character will remain an upgrade, and power progression is not reset seasonally, and you can even take a year's break from the game and still have your character be as relevant as it was before you left.
Yes. Yes, but that's only the case because Classic WoW is just Classic WoW. There's no new content, nothing like that. That's why.
Many players feel as if they wasted their time gearing a character in Retail, since that progress will eventually become obsolete.
Yeah, why would I gear out my character this season to the max if I can just wait for the next season and do a little bit and have the same amount of power progression?
Okay, next we're gonna talk about Retail WoW's focus on endgame. One of the major issues that Classic players find off-putting about Retail is the fact that the game mostly revolves around current endgame content.
Yes, absolutely.
The whole game feels like it's designed to rush you through the game and get you into the...
Because it is. Because it is. It's the entirety of the game.
current endgame loop as fast as possible. This makes the leveling and early gearing part of the game feel more like an annoying obstacle than a natural part of the game.
Yeah.
Many classic players feel like the leveling phase in retail is simply too fast. The leveling is so fast that you can't even complete longer storylines of the game before reaching the maximum level. And for many people, the incentive to start doing the current endgame content at that point means that they rarely get to fully experience the stories and campaigns that the leveling experience has to offer. The leveling phase of classic WoW, however, is in stark contrast to what it is in the retail version. In classic WoW, the leveling phase feels like a natural part of the game, and some players even enjoy it over the endgame content.
Same here. If you would put just vanilla WoW single player game, you can hire AI to do dungeons and raids. I can guarantee you that game would sell. That game would sell. Absolutely, 100%. I would play it. Man, it would be so fun, a game like that. And you heard me right. A game like that doesn't have to be actual World of Warcraft.
Of classic WoW. Leveling in classic takes a long time, but for me and many others, it doesn't feel like an obstacle to be quickly overcome, but more like an experience to be enjoyed. I personally feel like the slower paced leveling of classic WoW also allows you to learn your new classes more easily, as you're not bombarded with new abilities and passives left and right.
Yeah,
and you have a lot of time to get used to how your different abilities work before you reach the maximum level. Okay, the next major topic we're gonna talk about is complexity. Many classic players said that they feel very overwhelmed by the amount of different systems implemented to the game over the years. There are
I wonder why. Because that shit is designed basically to kind of being played with add-ons. That's why. And yes, that's the same shit as God says. I'm aware of that.
20 years worth of different systems in the game, and while most of them are not relevant in the current content, there still are a lot of systems to learn and understand. What makes this situation even worse is the fact that often the game doesn't do
gem sockets. In retail, I haven't actually interacted with them in a meaningful way since TBC. The Burning Crusade was the last time. Because that's kind of, well, Dan and Wrath of the Lich King. I think that was the pinnacle of gem cutting, you know? After that, it was basically not existent. I haven't seen any gears so far in retail in quite a while that had any sockets for gems. Man, what a waste.
A very good job of explaining these systems to players.
This system sucks. There, I said it. How is anyone supposed to ever figure this out unless you read a whole freaking handbook? This doesn't make any sense.
These systems are also very hard to figure out intuitively, so...
And that happens if you have people design a system that don't play the game.
More often than not, you have to Google how they work. Another thing that creates a new layer of complexity to the retail version of the game is the fact that there are constant changes and updates being done to the game that affect class balance, systems, currencies, and so on. And in order to keep up with these changes, players have to read developer blue posts on the forums and Wowhead. I personally read weekly...
Also, never forget that at least with every expansion, there are new currencies. Why? No one knows.
Hotfix blue posts and different updates weekly to stay on top of things that are happening in retail WoW. The fact that constant changes aren't being made to the classic version also means that you can take a long break from the game, and when you come back, the skills
Yes.
and knowledge you've gathered so far will still be relevant and
Yes.
useful. Whereas in Retail WoW, taking a long break and returning to the game will often mean that the game has dramatically changed and your main class,
yes.
for example, might have reworked talents and a completely new, different playstyle, and your previous experience is no longer that relevant. And many people that answered
Exactly.
my question said that they enjoy classic WoW over retail for this very reason. Some people prefer the fact
Same.
that they know exactly what
I love playing priest and just vanilla WoW and vanilla TBC. Loved priest there. Priest now is shit. I completely don't like it. I don't like playing it. And I have free. Just saying.
they're getting from a new character and how class balance and different systems work from the very first levels to the final endgame. Okay, moving on to our final main topic, which is WarCraft feeling. Many people seem to feel like Retail WoW has over the years lost its identity and
Of
no
course it
longer
did.
lives up to the expectations people have for a WarCraft game, both story
Remember, the developer said that they regret calling it WarCraft.
and graphics-wise. The lore and look of the game has in many players' eyes been very
Yes.
Disneyfied, and the story no longer follows in the footsteps of the more brutal and war-focused pattern that
Yeah.
WarCraft lore used to have. The story of the game now has more of an emotional focus, and the major cinematics and storylines focus more on very Disney-feeling topics of
Yes.
family and friendship and feelings, which is the very opposite of what some people expect from Warcraft lore.
The thing is, family and friendship was still an original Warcraft. It was all there. It was just not told in a pussified way. There, said it.
Sure, some people enjoy how the current story of the game is developing, but especially many classic players think that the story of Retail WoW has thematically gone in a wrong direction. A lot of WoW players grew up on Warcraft games and prefer to play classic WoW over Retail because they feel like classic WoW still holds
Which also means they are all old. They are all old.
true to what they expect from a Warcraft game.
Just like me, by the way.
Now we finally come to the last two questions that I asked classic players to share their opinions on, and the reason why I didn't try to figure out how Retail WoW could be made more appealing to the classic audience. When asked about what classic players do like about Retail WoW, the answers were mostly about the transmog system and some quality of life features. But these two things were also often on the list of things that people didn't like about Retail WoW.
And I can see both. I can absolutely see both.
WoW, so I think the classic community is somewhat divided on whether these things are a good or a bad thing. Okay, then moving on to the last question of what would need to change in Retail in order to make classic players consider playing it. And the vast majority of the people I asked answered that no amount of changes will make them want to play Retail. Many classic players seem to feel that the Retail WoW is simply too far removed from what the game used to be, and unless the whole game is remade, they simply have no interest in playing it.
I completely understand that. Completely. 100% understandable for me. That's literally it. I completely understand them. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I have zero want to play Retail WoW. It's just completely not appealing to me. At all. It's not. I don't want to deal with it. At all. And the only reason I don't play Classic is because I don't want to support Blizzard. Fuck Blizzard. And also, I don't want to spend the time in World of Warcraft anymore. I'm done with that. It ruined my life enough. I'd rather play Arc Raiders, where I can play 16 hours per week and I'm good.
And for this reason, I didn't try to think of how the issues classic players have with retail could be addressed. Many people consider classic and retail WoW to be two very different games that are to be enjoyed for different reasons and in different ways, and I completely agree with this myself. I enjoy the fast-paced, difficult retail endgame and the collection of transmogs and mounts, but I also enjoy the chill, classical MMORPG leveling and gearing experience that classic WoW has to offer. I would like to know how people feel about these issues, so go to the comment section and tell me if you feel like something is missing from these topics and whether you agree or disagree with them. I would also like to know how many of you are playing only classic or only retail,
I don't
or
play it
if
anymore.
you're playing both like
At
I
all.
do. And finally, I want to give a big thanks to all the people who answered my questions and made this video possible.
Oh yeah,
And I would of
good video,
course
by the
like
way.
to thank you for watching this
Aw.
video. Hope to see you in the next one.
Thank you, my dude. Great video. Awesome video. Awesome video.